Welcome to Design with Impact, the podcast for interior designers who want to create beautiful, healthy spaces with intention and purpose. I'm Alex, interior designer, mom, entrepreneur, and educator, and I am truly passionate about sustainability. After seeing the amount of waste our industry creates and learning how everyday materials can impact our health, I completely changed the way I approach design. And now I want to help more designers do the same. Each week, through solo episodes and conversations with industry experts, we'll explore sustainable materials, healthier homes, and circular design, along with practical strategies to reduce waste, grow a sustainable business, and market your work with intention, so you can create real impact without sacrificing aesthetics or profitability. Because sustainability isn't optional, it's the future of design. Welcome back to another episode of Design with Impact. I'm your host, Alex Shield, and today we're speaking with Jenny McCarty of Sage Leaf Studio. Jenny is an internationally collected watercolor artist who leverages her education and background in ecology to create vibrant wildlife art that inspires people to care about natural environments. Her paintings blend scientific curiosity with sustainable materials and artistic wonder, inviting viewers to reconnect with nature while supporting conservation with every purchase. Hi, Jenny. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I love chatting with you. We've done a couple of Instagram lives together, and I'm so excited to chat with you today. Can you start by telling us a bit about you and your background? You have a really great combination of art and ecology, and I would love to hear more about how these two worlds come together for you.
Yeah. So I think like many young people, I loved art. And growing up, I was told that art probably wasn't a viable career option. And I also loved the sciences. So I took art and science in high school. And when I went to university, I chose the science path because there was more money promised down that route. And so I essentially was educated away from art and spent a lot of time in the sciences. I got to travel all over the world doing conservation work for wildlife. And I found during my travels that at the end of the day, water is life. No matter where you are, we are made up of water. Every animal on the planet needs water. And so I started specializing in water resources and continued my career in the sciences, water resources management. And eventually I hit a burnout window, and I feel really lucky in my day job. I have a day job in water resources management, and we have a career coach, and she said, okay, Jenny, we can't manage your workload because you obviously have to come to work and do your work, but we can manage your energy levels. What have you done in life where you find flow regularly? And for me, it had always been drawing and painting. And she's like, okay, I want you to start painting. So after almost 10 years away from art, I picked up a paintbrush again, and then I couldn't stop. So here I am creating eco-friendly art now for nature lovers.
I love that. So your background is in stream ecology and water resources management. So how has your scientific training influenced your approach to art?
Yes, this is actually a large crux of the art that I create. When I was young, and like many of us when we're young and in school, a lot of the art materials that we're given, we don't actually think about what's in them. And when I came back to art, I had a 15-year career behind me in conservation, sustainability, a lot of education. Like most of us, a lot of this education has come in the last 10, 15 years as people have become more aware of it. I realized what was in the products I was using, the petroleum-based products, the oil-based products, the chemicals, the VOCs that were coming into my home. For example, acrylic paint, it's in the name, it's plastic derived. Oil paint in particular, you often use solvents and cleaning solutions that are really bad for your health. Like most oil painters wear a respirator or paint with windows open because the VOCs are so bad and cause lung cancer. Acrylic paint releases formaldehyde. And so when I went back to doing art again, I realized all these materials that I had used in my youth, I didn't want to use anymore. That didn't align with my ethos, my current way of doing life. And I say that not to judge any other artist out there. The world needs artists. We need artists creating with whatever materials they can. For example, I'm a vegetarian. My husband's a meat eater. I don't judge him for eating meat. I don't judge artists for using whatever they're going to use. It's just my personal choice, and I'm happy to share education with others. So I started looking for more eco-friendly paints since my medium is paint. Watercolor in particular is incredibly eco-friendly. It is simple pigments from the earth with an Arabic gum solution, which comes from trees, and you mix it with water and you have paint. Uh, and so everything in my art practice, I started looking at ways to reduce, reuse, recycle, reducing my impact with watercolor paint, for instance. You can pour them easily down the sink. It goes to the wastewater treatment plant, and it can go back out to the streams and rivers and then eventually out to the ocean and not cause any issues. Whereas other paints like acrylic and oil, you're not supposed to pour them down the sink. Wastewater treatment plants can't clean them out efficiently. Those microplastics and other solvents end up in our streams and cause issues in stream habitats, riparian habitats. So I really, all my background in conservation, ecology, it definitely bled over into my art practice, and every material I use, from my paints to my brushes to the papers being FSC certified papers, even my packaging, I've tried to reduce plastic as much as possible. It's usually, if I have to have plastic, it's reused from some other packaging that we've gotten elsewhere. But I'm very happy now that, for instance, most of my original paintings I ship completely plastic free. We use a framer that uses origami cardboard to increase the packaging strength. And yeah, so it's just been a wonderful journey and sharing information with others. There are lots of great brands out there now. For any painter that's listening, for example, Natural Earth Paints is a brand that makes an alternative to acrylic. It's all plant-based, but it acts just like acrylic. It dries just like acrylic. And I'm so glad to see so many alternatives starting to come to the art world. I'm sure you probably see the same in interior design. Like, the more people are educated and become aware, the more options there are out there for us.
Yeah, it is evolving, and I think we need to ask more questions and be more curious to find the right products. I love that you've really incorporated sustainability into every single aspect of your business, not just the materials, but also the shipping, the packaging, the paper, everything. Did your business, I say business, I guess it started just as creating art as your outlet, but was sustainability, was this I guess this was a journey probably to build this, and it evolved over time? Or did you know right away, okay, I can't use this type of paint, I should be using a better paper? How did it evolve?
It definitely evolved. So in the beginning, it was really just a hobby. I was reusing a lot. So you know the ethos of eco-friendly sustainability: reduce, reuse, recycle. And I'm very lucky to live in Boulder, Colorado, which there's a lot of conscientious thinkers around eco-friendly sustainability. In the United States, we're kind of a hub for that. And we have it's called art reuse, and it's a art reuse center. So people who have old art materials drop them off. It's like going to a thrift store for art materials. So
Okay.
get them at really low cost and reuse. I definitely started with watercolor paints, and the paper was often just reused, upcycled paper. When people started showing an interest in purchasing my artwork, I saw it as an opportunity to educate others and also create a business that was true to eco-friendly art. And so I evaluated everything in my art practice, all the materials, making sure that they followed my values, my mission. And then on top of that, also decided to donate 10% of all proceeds back to conservation organizations. And this was really important to me because no matter what, no eco-friendly, sustainable business is perfect. And this 10%, one, is continuing to support my mission, which is conserving wildlife and wild places, but also would help offset whatever small footprint my business was still having on the environment. So that was a really important part of creating the business, and the mission was that 10% to conservation.
I love that. I feel like it's so hard to build a sustainable business, and we're not perfect. And I think that the discussions I have with a lot of people are that they don't want to start because they don't know all of the things. And I think I think it's important to start, and I think it's important to just incorporate one thing at a time, and eventually you'll get to the place where, you know, for you, you found the paint, you found the paper, you found the packaging, you're giving back, and you really have a business built around your values and what you believe in. So I love that.
Thank you. And I think you're right. Eco-friendly businesses don't have to be perfect, but just working towards improvement. I've heard you say this before too in other episodes and offline in our conversations. It's important to provide feedback to companies as well,
Mm,
places where you'd like to see them improve, or if you decide not to use them, provide information on why. And
yeah.
when I was creating the business, for instance, I was testing several different print companies and I was getting prints and a lot of packaging. And I would ask them, hey, could we do this with much less packaging? I don't actually need that much packaging. I trust that it'll arrive to me safely. And some of them told me no. And I said, okay, I am going to choose not to do business with you right now because you don't offer that. And hopefully they take that feedback to heart, maybe hear it from some other people over time, and maybe things will change in the long run.
Yes, I think we need to keep asking questions and keep doing all of those things you mentioned because the more people ask, the more the suppliers, the manufacturers will realize, oh, people want this. Maybe we should do this. so,
Yes, yes.
so I love that. Um, okay, so designers spend a lot of time discussing furniture and finishes, but artwork is something that's often overlooked from a sustainability perspective. Why should we think about art as part of a sustainable interior?
Certainly. I agree with you. I think a lot of people overlook art, and I think that has a lot to do with people think that art is this special thing. Artists are this special group that we don't touch. They're probably doing the best for the planet because of we're generally on the forefront of societal changes like sustainability, eco-friendliness. But like we've talked about already, a lot of art actually isn't sustainable or eco-friendly or safe and healthy for homes and families. And the way I like to think about it is, especially if you're a eco-friendly or sustainable designer or you're looking to improve your practice, you've created this beautiful room out of sustainable, eco-friendly materials. It's perfect. And then you maybe put a piece on the wall, a piece of art on the wall that's not sustainable or eco-friendly. The way I think about that is that's like building like this beautiful organic cake and all the ingredients are clean. And then you put a McDonald's toy topper on the top. And I think that there are tiers to that. If you're buying art from a big box store, I think that really fits the analogy of the McDonald's toy topper. If you're choosing a piece of art that maybe is made with much less eco-friendly materials, with toxic materials, for instance, acrylic and oil, acrylic can off-gas VOCs for up to 6 months. Oil paintings can off-gas VOCs for over 12 months.
Wow.
And yeah, and you're hanging that piece in someone's home, maybe above their couch, where they spend a lot of time with their family every evening, breathing in those VOCs. And so it's how can we continue to make that beautiful cake more healthy, even put a topper on it that's edible, and also organic, also clean eating. So I think that is a good way to think about it is the finishing touches are just as important in creating a beautiful room as all the bigger finishes.
I love that analogy. It's so good. The cake topper. That's amazing.
Thanks. Everyone loves cake, right?
Yeah, and I would definitely not want a McDonald's cake topper. So I'm
No.
with you. Okay, so what are some of the hidden ingredients or materials in conventional artwork that designers might not realize can be problematic?
We've talked about in the paints, formaldehydes, the cleaning solvents that happen in oils. There are also in the paints, in the papers and the canvases, a lot of those too, if they're coming from especially other countries, there are chemicals, solvents, bleaches that are used in them. For framing as well, there can be many chemicals, or just like when you're doing interior design, if you're doing an eco-friendly floor and you're using a low VOC finish, the same is true for frames. You can find natural wood that has no finish at all. Same with metals. You can also reduce, reuse, and recycle. You can find upcycled materials. So finding at thrift stores frames that have already lived a nice life and probably are not off-gassing anymore if they were at one point, but reducing impact long-term with that framing. Aside from just the paintings on the walls, if someone's looking at installing ceramics or other kinds of artwork in a space as well, there are things to consider. Reducing, reusing, upcycling are all good options. Finding an artist too that is really thoughtful about the glazes that they use on a ceramic, right? As a good example. Where do they get their glazes? Is it mined from somewhere? Is it petroleum based? Those are all good questions to ask. I have a downloadable guide for anybody who might be interested, who's listening, that actually in a single page breaks out what questions you can ask the artist to help determine whether or not it's a sustainable, eco-friendly piece or not, if they've even thought about it, and getting closer and closer to that sustainable and eco-friendly art that an interior designer would hope to be putting in a room.
Okay, that's great. So I will link that in the show notes for anybody who's interested. They can go and download it. So then, I don't know. I feel like we've gone through a lot of the different things, but what makes artwork eco-friendly or low-tox?
We've talked a lot about it. Eco-friendly and low-tox, it's got a low impact on the environment, so you've either reduced, reused, or recycled. Thought about what materials actually go into creating that piece. Thought about how that item is being shipped. So is it shipping in sustainable packaging? Is it shipping in a bunch of foam or styrofoam, which is not eco-friendly? And then finally, the life of that product. From start to finish, what is the full impact and where will it go after it's done and it's lived its useful life in that space? Will it go to a thrift store? Will it go to the dump? Will it degrade back into the earth, or will it cause chemical impact on the earth?
And if we go back to what you said about styrofoam, I recently shared in an episode, I did a solo episode, and I was talking about one of my first experiences at a design firm. And we had a very small setup. We were installing artwork, light fixtures, accessories, and all of the artwork came in cardboard boxes. And when you open the cardboard box, it was covered in styrofoam. And for those of you who don't know, styrofoam is not recyclable. Styrofoam, essentially, it's manufactured so that you can package your item, ship it, and then it goes to the landfill and lasts
And
forever.
takes up a lot of space, yes.
Takes up a lot of space, too. It's true. Or it breaks down into those tiny little itty-bitty pieces everywhere and probably ends up in our water and our food, sort of similar to microplastics. I don't know that for a fact. I'm guessing.
It does. And going back to my water education, if I could for a second, microplastics and chemicals like that are only now becoming something that people in the mainstream are talking about. And most wastewater treatment plants, even most source water treatment plants, aren't built right now to filter those things out. So it is coming through your tap water. It is coming into your home. What I recommend to most people, and one that we have here, is we've got what's called a reverse osmosis. It uses a membrane under the sink, and that's how we consume our drinking water. That's a good way to make sure that all those little tiny microplastics aren't making it into your body and into your family's bodies.
Hey, my friends, I have been working on something quietly behind the scenes, and I need your input. I am creating trainings and resources for interior designers who want to learn more about sustainability. And I want to know, what are your biggest pain points? What do you want to learn more about? What types of resources would actually support you in your projects and your business? If you could spare a few minutes to complete the survey, it would truly mean a lot to me. You can find the link in the show notes. Okay, so your artwork, it's incredibly beautiful. It is inspired by wildlife. So you're not only looking at the eco-friendly aspect and its impact on the environment, but it's also all about wildlife and natural environment. So how do you think art influences our connection to nature?
I think art is so important for our connection to nature. I'm looking at your background right now, for instance, and your wall is a beautiful plant green. You've got plants in this space. And I think that people, whether they know how to name it or not, they love bringing nature indoors. And there's so much research now that shows that our nervous system's calm, that we feel better around nature, in fresh air, around plants. And so that's where the term biophilic design comes in, right? And interior design. And so I think creating spaces that celebrate nature and bring nature indoors helps to create that homey, cozy, calm feeling that so many of us are seeking to have in our indoor sanctuaries. I mean, you can see behind me, I've got some of my favorite mountains that we have around here in the background, and it just creates a space of calm and joy.
I love also when you travel and you share on Instagram the landscape, and then you're sitting there with your pad and you're painting what you see, and it's amazing. And also, if you go take a look at Jenny's art, I love the hidden, you hide things in your mountains and in your clouds
Mhm.
and in your, so you have all the different animals that are hidden in there and different shapes you can look for. I really love that. I love that your artwork is nature inspired. Can we talk about the park passes?
Sure, yes, we
Yeah.
could definitely talk about the park passes.
So Jenny is genius, and actually, I'll let you explain it. But essentially, there are lots of natural parks in your area. You need a pass to enter the natural park. So tell us what you did, Jenny.
Yes, so in the United States, we have many national parks and other public lands, and historically, the pass that allows you to enter those spaces has always had a photo on it of a national park, and the photo has been the winner of a publicly voted on photo contest. So this is a great example of nature being celebrated, art being celebrated, and community having a voice in that. And unfortunately, this year for the United States 250th anniversary, our current sitting American president decided to put his face on the pass instead. And I am very connected with my community on social media and was listening to the frustration and the disappointment, and I felt those things myself. And so I made a sticker alternative to go over his face, go on top of the pass, and it incorporates my art, 3 different pieces from national parks, some of my favorite places on the planet, and they went viral overnight. We've had millions of views, we've sold thousands of stickers, and we decided to donate 100% of proceeds back to the national parks because they've been pretty gutted over the last couple years.
Mm.
And we've raised about $27,000 already.
Wow,
And yeah, I'm
that's
so
amazing.
thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so excited and I'm so grateful to have such a wonderful community that rallied around art and around our public lands.
That's so good.
I think it's the sticker, the movement, it's a lesson because other artists started to create alternatives as well. So
Mm.
they took up the mantle and carried it. So other artists are able to be a part of this movement, this idea of art activism. And I think that it's just a reminder to everybody that no matter how small you think you are, you can use your gifts and your talents to make a difference in the world.
Mm.
And nature and art both have a place in societies in our world, and interior design is definitely a part of that.
Hmm. I love what you're doing. You're so inspiring, Jenny. Thank you.
Thank you. I honestly, I could say the same about you. I actually was listening to your intro episode, one of your intro episodes about how you got into interior design. And I loved what you were talking about, your history with your mom. Your grandma would take you thrift store shopping. And I've thought about, because I've known you for several years and I've seen your journey, and it honestly, it made me tear up because I was just so excited for the journey you've been on and also the impact that you're making in the interior design world. So
Oh, thank
it's just,
you.
yeah, it's been awesome to see. It's awesome to see people following their callings.
Well, I definitely didn't mean to make anybody cry. I was just sharing my story, but I'm glad that it resonated with you. So thank you.
Definitely. Yes. And if any listeners haven't listened to the episode yet, definitely go listen to it. I forget which episode number it was, but highly recommend.
Episode, I can link it in the show notes. I think it was episode 12
Great. I think so too.
about my story. Amazing. Well, thank you. Okay, so you are doing all kinds of good things. You are looking at the paints you're using, the paper, the shipping. You're incorporating, I mean, it's all nature inspired, and you donate a portion of your proceeds to conservation as well. That's all amazing. Do you find Are you seeing this more and more in the industry? Like, are there any trends that you're seeing in the art world that give you hope?
Yes. I'm actually really excited to see more people talking about this. I've seen more and more brands in the art world start to come out with eco-friendly materials, and even in watercolor paint, for instance, there are a couple different pigments that use harsh metals, and
Mm,
I've seen paint brands come out with eco-friendly versions that you don't use those heavy metals. They use something completely different to create that pigment, and they brand it as such so that you can look at the ingredients and see that that's no longer there. I've seen a lot of companies use less and less packaging, use more cardboard. And I've also heard from a lot of people. So I've had so many artists reach out to me and ask, where are you getting this? Where are you getting that? How are you doing this to be more eco-friendly or sustainable in your practice? So there's a desire from the art community to have a much smaller impact on the world around them in a negative way, while having a much bigger impact in how they inspire people and the beauty and joy and the way they celebrate nature.
mm,
And that gives me a lot of hope.
yeah. I love actually on the topic of I don't even know where this fits in. It literally just popped into my head while while you were speaking, but I purchased a painting from you. You created this beautiful painting made from makeup. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I forgot about that. And I love that you have that piece. So I was working with a company out of the UK. It's called Planet Friendly Paints, and they take makeup donations and then upcycle them into paint. And I had created, I think, a space piece,
Yeah,
and
I love
you
it.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's glittery and shiny, just like
Yes.
makeup is. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's a great example of more companies starting to look for alternative ways to reduce the impact of the art world. I think people don't realize just how big of a footprint the art world has. Everything from all the large manufactured art in big box stores like the Targets of the world, the Home Goods. A lot of it comes from out east, comes in a lot of packaging. Uh, but now there are these alternatives out there. But there's friendly paint that makes their art out of upcycled makeup. I mentioned natural earth paints earlier that uses plant-based paint, like an acrylic alternative. And then there are lots of little mom and pop shops, at least around me now, that are coming up even with glitters, for
Mm,
instance. I know you and I have talked about how glitter is little pieces of plastic that just end up everywhere.
it's
But now
so
these
bad. Let's just say glitter is really bad for the environment, guys.
yes,
And
it's
I have a really hard I know that so okay. I have two kids, okay? And I
okay.
understand how important art is and how important creative expression is. And I want to foster that creative expression. But I have a really hard time with the products and I know that glitter is bad and sequins and because all these little tiny pieces end up in the water. They end up back in the food that we're consuming. It's this cycle and but I don't want to say no, we can't do art because that's no, that's you need the
Right.
art in your life. You need the creative part, but I have a really hard time with the materials. Even the stuff that says it's non-toxic. Or like why does Play-Doh like not the Play-Doh brand. There's another brand that's scented. Like
Why is it
why?
scented?
Why? And I have such a
Right.
hard time. And it's like it's called all natural, but it's scented. Anyways, I'm sorry. I just went on a little rant there, but I really want to foster my kids' creative senses and, you know, let them create. But I have a really hard time with actually purchasing the art products.
Yes, yes, I hear you. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of parents who are eco-conscious and thinking about these things. I've noticed a lot more alternatives in the last 10 years. Blogs are a really great example of parents who are making those things at home from scratch. And I recognize that not everybody has the time for that or the space in busy career life while raising a family to do that. But there are alternatives like making your own Play-Doh at home out of flour or finding pigments out in nature with berries and flowers and things like that, doing plant presses. When it comes to glitter, for example, I totally hear you. Like glitter makes my heart really happy, but it also is not good for the environment.
Yeah.
But I love how sparkly it is. So these glitter alternatives, they're made off edible polysaccharides like sugars and
Okay.
salts.
Oh, cool.
So you could literally eat it if you wanted to.
Okay.
And those are all great examples. And if you are curious or anyone who's listening is curious about what those brands are, reach out or I'd be happy to share them with you to link in the show notes.
Love that. Sorry, we went on like, this is more like mom podcast now. We're talking about kids and art and okay. So back to interior design. If an interior designer wants to make better choices when they're sourcing art, where should they start?
My biggest recommendation is start local. That's going to be the best option is find someone locally near to you. That way you're reducing on packaging, you're reducing on the shipping, the CO2 emissions associated with shipping, and be really conscientious about the type of art. So we've talked about acrylic and oil paint today, for instance. Definitely would avoid big box store art in general. Support your local artists. That's a great way to do it. And have conversations with those artists. So I mentioned the guide that I have. Ask them those questions. And if they don't have answers or the answer is no to some of those questions, have conversations with them about how could we potentially make this more eco-friendly. The other alternative is always to thrift. I've always seen art in thrift stores when I've gone there. And if you can find the right piece that matches what you're designing and the aesthetic you're going for, perfect. I understand too, though, that art switches with the times, just like any other aesthetic. There are styles that people prefer from one decade to the next. And if there's an artist you really like, then work with them to commission pieces that use more eco-friendly materials.
And art is very subjective, right? It's for me, I actually, as an interior designer, I have a really hard time choosing art for my clients because art should make you feel something, right? Art is not just, for me, it's not just something you put on the walls to have something on the walls. You could probably describe it better than me, but it's, it's a feeling. It's emotional. It's
storytelling. It shares something about that person when other people walk into their space. You
Yes.
learn things about them because it's so personal. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
What I recommend for interior designers and other people who are designing spaces is find artists that you like or create mood boards on Pinterest and share it with the person that's helping you design that space so that they have a more clear picture of what you're interested in. And before purchasing anything, I'm sure you do this with your clients, make sure that helps them feel something. Or it maybe is reaching out to an artist that they really like and commissioning a piece specifically.
Yeah. Okay. So what is one thing that you wish every interior designer understood about art and sustainability?
We have talked about so much of it. I wish every interior designer understood that we've talked about this, eco-friendly and sustainability practices aren't perfect, but art can really take your interior design to the next level. That's a finishing piece. It's a statement piece on the wall. It's probably going to be something that when most people are in a room, they're going to talk about, if they're going to talk about anything. And if your client can also say, yeah, even the paints in this piece are eco-friendly. Even the frame has been upcycled or thrifted. That helps to tie together the whole story of the room. But if instead they're like, oh yeah, I think that was a last minute thought and I think it came from Target, then it just drags down the whole feeling of how eco-friendly and sustainable that room was going to be.
I love that you said that because as an interior designer, I'll see a room in photographs and I'll be like, oh, I know where that is from. I know where they got that art
Yes.
because I've seen it in a ton of projects already. Wouldn't you rather
Yes.
have something original? It was so great to chat with you. Thank you so much, Jenny. If our listeners want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I am on socials at sage_leaf_studio. My website is www.thesageleafstudio.com, and you can find my contact information there. I'm happy to respond to any emails or DMs. And like I mentioned, there's a guide out there to help you create more eco-friendly and sustainable interior spaces.
Perfect. So I will add all of that in the show notes so you can connect with Jenny. And she's just an amazing person to talk to. So if you want to ask her
Oh,
questions, go
that's so
ahead.
nice of you. Thank you.
You won't be disappointed. Thank you, Jenny. I can't wait to chat with you again.
Thank you, Alex, so much. This has been really special. Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to follow the podcast, share this episode with another designer so we can make an even bigger impact, and leave a review so more designers can find this podcast and we can continue to grow this community. Also, I challenge you to take one sustainable practice from this episode and incorporate it in your business or your next project. And I want to know what it is. Send me a DM over on Instagram at designwithimpact_. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for being here.